Milwaukee. Um, the way they were able to close some games out this week kind of really showed me that they're trying to fight back for that championship that they did a couple years ago.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the authentic voice of sports leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, we've got a lot to talk about. The downfall in Dallas, the new NBA All-Star Game format, U.S. versus the world, top college teams with the most NBA prospects, the return of the product, we'll talk about that, and the WNBA at a crossroads. With us today, our favorite administrator has joined us, Robert Abney, the one who got away, Danny Thompson, and our team leader is here, Mike King, OKC Thunder expert. So, gentlemen, OCP top 5 of the Eastern Conference. We got Detroit, top 6. We've got Detroit, the Knicks, the Cavs, the Raptors, the Hawks, and the 76ers, believe it or not. Hottest teams in the East, Pistons, Raptors, and the Hawks. Danny, anybody from the East catch your eye this week?
Milwaukee. The way they were able to close some games out this week kind of really showed me that they're trying to fight back for that championship that they did a couple years ago. Having Miles Turner in there, it kind of invigorates that youthful aspect, especially at the 5 spot. So that way it doesn't have to worry about depending on Giannis to do so much of the defensive load that Brook couldn't do as he got older. It's just amazing to me to see how they watch. And then also I'm looking at the list, and then Detroit. We were talking about them last week. Detroit is the team that's really got my focus right now, mainly because of one, Cade Cunningham, but Jalen Duren has really caught my eye. I like how he played last season, and then coming into this season, he's already come up to that fresh start. So if I'm looking at two teams right now, Detroit is one. That's the number one team I'm looking at. And then right behind them will be Milwaukee, because I want to see how that dynamic of Turner and Giannis do as teams figure them out and how they figure to play on them, especially when both of them on the floor on the defensive end.
All right, and we'll go to the Western Conference. 1, OKC, 2, Denver, 3, Rockets, 4, Lakers, 5, Spurs, and 6, Suns. Hottest teams, OKC, Denver, Houston, and the Lakers. Mike King, talk to me about the Western Conference this week.
There's two teams. There's two teams in the league, though. Like, the East, it's fun to talk about who's going to win one game maybe against the Thunder or the Nuggets. But I think at this point, you look at the Thunder and Nuggets, and they're just playing it's a completely different sport. The Rockets maybe can give you want to be one because you want to avoid the Rockets in the semis. But you just watch Denver play. They're great defensively. And they got Jokic. You watch the Thunder play without half the team. They're so good defensively that the difference between them and number 2 is the difference between number 2 and number 20. Like, they're playing defense to start this year without J-Dub, who's, I think, their best defender because he guards 1 through 5. But without him, Dort's missed a ton. Their defense it's historic even compared to them last year. They're doing things that I think 4 of the top 5 defenders in the league analytically are Thunder. And again, not Dort, who some people say is their best, and not J-Dub, who I think is their best. It's just a crazy level of compete. I'm really looking forward to Thunder Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. I think we all know it's going to head there, and that's going to be the old Dallas Cowboys versus San Francisco 49ers. Who's going to beat the AFC by 50? Thunder Nuggets is that. They should play in the finals. It's going to be a lot of fun. But boy, they're just playing. It's a completely different sport.
Robert, you're like me. I'm glancing at the NBA periodically, but has anybody in the East or West caught your eyes, sir?
The only thing I'm really paying attention to right now is Wemby and what he's doing. The Spurs, I think, It's going to be interesting to see how they progress over the season just because they're so young. Because they're young, I think they're going to be inconsistent, and also can they stay healthy? But man, every night, what is Wemby going to do tonight? What is he going to do tonight? And it's almost a circus. He's so long, so tall. It's like what can he do? I mean, it almost merits. Almost. I'm not quite there yet. It's a 2-hour trip to the arena. You find the right opponent, and a game ticket is the same as a movie ticket. I'm almost there.
Almost leaving the Abney compound to go to San Antonio. Okay, Robert, I'm going to stay with you. The Dallas Mavericks finally fired Nico Harrison. Fine. The whole world's screaming about the trade with Luka, but he doesn't make this trade in isolation. Other people had something to do with this trade. You got the fan revolts, and they're acting like a college crowd, turning on their GM, turning on their coaches, turning on their players. With that being said, Robert, before I get to the rest of the panel, what do you think about how Dallas has handled their business?
Well, I don't think the issue was so much trading Luka as it was what he did to build a roster following Luka's leaving. I mean, you didn't find, you've got a bunch of bigs and you have no point guard. And you're really limited offensively with the roster that you've constructed. You've got nobody really who can score, and you're depending a lot on Cooper Flagg. And all of that is just, it's a recipe for disaster. I mean, it's not a surprise. I'm kind of surprised that he actually survived. Last year when he actually completed the trade, I didn't think he'd get this far. I thought they would have fired him before this just because of fan outrage. But I mean, the roster's bad. The last thing you need is a 6'9" rookie playing point guard. And they've got a lot of work to do, and I don't know if they have the capital on the team, and if they have the draft capital to get better anytime soon.
All right. So, Danny, I'm going to go to you. New NBA All-Star Game format, U.S. versus the world, and reports have trickled out, even though the OCP has covered it for some time, in terms of Adam Silver's dream of worldwide domination. You had a chance to look at the new format, which is a 3-team format with 8-man rosters, 2 teams made up of American players, and a 3rd team made up of international players. What are you thinking as somebody who's enjoyed the All-Star Game over your career on the NBA All-Star Game format, U.S. versus the world?
Just bring back East-West. Stop this different expansion. Stop this trying to. I get what he's doing, and I understand his mindset of trying to do it. As a guy who enjoyed the All-Star Game from those late 90s into the 2000s All-Star Games, just bring back East-West. Stop this 3-team, let's draft these guys from the starters and put these different groups together. Because even with this bringing the European aspect, let's be real. How many international players are actually all-stars right now? You got Wemby, you got Jokic, Shea, because playing out of Canada.
Luka.
I believe they can build a quality team, sir.
They can, but it's like after the starting 5, who else would you consider to be an all-star that's an international player? I mean,
I'm going to tag him Mike King. Go ahead, sir.
Maybe Sengun.
No. Okay.
They have a lot of good bigs. I guess Luka plays the one. Let's see. Well, yeah, I mean Giannis, Jokic. The bigs are just untouchable. But then you get Shea. You get Shea and Luka, Giannis. The starting five's insane. Wembanyama, and then you have on the bench. It gets weaker, but Sabonis.
That's Dennis Schroeder.
Yikes.
Hold on. Coach, wait a minute. Stop it.
Didn't Germany win the Euro League?
Germany can win the Euro, but
I was just saying.
But that starting five. That starting five beats the USA starting five by 40.
And that's my point. After the starting five,
yeah, then it's Sengun.
It's just a non-star game. It's an all-star game. So,
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. After the starting five and Sengun, because Sengun can be in the starting five if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But after that, you can start picking flops at this point. So I'm not, so that's just where I'm at. But am I going to still watch it? Of course I am. It's in me to watch it. Now, how well is it going to be? We'll see. But my mindset has always been to change. Just bring back East West. Why change things?
You're my snarky guy.
Mm-hmm.
You saw this format. What does Mike King think about the NBA versus the World All-Star format?
You said there's 3 teams?
3 teams, sir. 2 American, 1 international. Teams of 8, regardless of position.
The Americans need to be 1 team because they can't compete with the international team. If it's only a team of 8 and we just name 6 international players that are going to wreck, it's going to be belts to the American. How are you splitting the American team up? LeBron's not 25, he's 40. What are you doing? I think I like it because when you saw the hockey version, the players got into it. And if you watch Draymond go against anyone from another country, Draymond gets into it. He hates them. So there would be passion, I think, in the All-Star game that hasn't been there. Especially, I would invite Draymond just to see Wembanyama in a chokehold that he wouldn't be able to even reach. That would be fun.
All right, Robert, close this out. You are our voice of reason. NBA versus the world. NBC has the Olympics. There's a rationale behind it. The NBA is trying to get a league in Europe, all over the place. It's not hidden information. Close us out, sir. NBA versus the world All-Star game. What do you think?
I think that it would be impossible for me to care less about the All-Star format. I don't care. I don't care. Do whatever you want. I'm not watching. I don't care.
That's a perfect OCP way to end the segment. So fans, in segment 2, our NBA correspondent Mike King will assist us in talking about the college teams to watch with the most NBA prospects because the Oklahoma City Thunder have 4,000 draft picks. And we'll talk about it. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Greetings and salutations. I am Dr. Keith Adams, founder and president of the CKA Save Project, and it is my profound honor to sponsor the CKA Save Project Balanced Student Athlete Award here at the Open Doors Bowl Series. Congratulations to the HCAC, NCAC, OAC, and PAC conferences for showcasing academic and athletic excellence. For nearly 2 decades, our core mission has been empowering student athletes to achieve total success on the field, in the classroom, and in life. Today, student athletes face unprecedented complexities from NIL and the transfer portal to demanding academic schedules. The CKA Save Project provides holistic supports that cuts through that complexity as we integrate academic development with athletic advancement by offering academic monitoring, customized consulting, and training in such things as financial literacy and personal branding. Our programs are grounded in my 3 decades of expertise focusing on the athletic mindset, skills like communication, collaboration, and accountability that are indispensable for any future professionals. This award recognizes a player from each competing team who exemplifies the CKA project's mission. It is reserved for the individuals who has demonstrated extraordinary academic rigor, leadership, and community impact. These recipients prove that excellence is not about sacrificing one's commitment for the other, but about diligently mastering both. They truly find the balance. Please join me in congratulating the recipients of the CKA Save Project Balanced Student Athlete Award. Learn more about the CKA Save Project and how we can support your students and programs at www.ckasaveproject.org. Thank you again, and congratulations to the winners. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. ESPN did a great story on top 10 college teams with the most NBA prospects within our group chat. Mike King is our NBA lottery aficionado. So, Mike, looking at the top teams in college basketball, who should we follow in terms of players that are ready for the lottery next year? What do you think?
So, I mean, this draft is like loaded. I saw something that said Cooper Flagg might be like the 6th pick if he was this year. I don't know if that's true, but I'm focused more on individuals than teams. I mean, Kansas, Duke, and BYU each have a guy who can go number 1. That's your top 3. And me personally, I like watching BYU because AJ's game just kind of has that, like, I don't know, young Kevin Garnett feel sometimes. Like, he's good. And then I hate Duke, but I'll watch him because, as you know, selfishly as a Thunder fan, if the Clippers pick becomes top 3, Boozer's my guy because we need a Hartenstein replacement. And what's Boozer? 6'9", 250. That's the best we're gonna get there. But then 4 through 6, UNC, Louisville, Tennessee, you got good players there. Arizona's got he's good. Like Cernak at Houston. There's just so many good players in this draft. Whereas last year's draft was kind of like meh. And it just makes me angrier about the Pelicans who just fired the coach. Well, I love Derek Queen. Love him.
Willie Green, didn't make it through.
You got a first-round pick in this year, unprotected, with this loaded draft, and you knew you were going to suck because you always suck. And then you don't even play Derek Queen enough. And that pick, I mean, that's why the Hawks, to me, they're kind of fun this year, and they're going to get the Pelicans pick in a loaded draft. There's a lot of good guys to watch. College this year, especially with how the NBA is, it's pretty much Jokic and Thunder and Wemby, and everything else is kind of like, eh. College this year is the thing to watch because every day you could find a game with a top 3 level player in a draft where they might go 8 through 10. Like, just a lot of fun guys to watch.
All right, Danny, you're watching way more college basketball than I am at this point in the season. Is there anybody you're following, any team you're following? Mike King selfishly is looking for Thunder, which is fine with us in the group chat. It provides entertainment. But what are you thinking about, Danny?
I mean, I'm like Mike. I'm not really a team follower. I'll follow my alumni, Miles St. Mary's, to see what they're doing, but I'm more of an individual guy. One player that came to my mind, Cole Pete down in Arizona. Real strong, solid, undersized forward. He really caught my eye that game against Florida. He was doing everything he wanted to in that game. It was outstanding to watch. Another, I would say, if I'm not looking at players right now, teams anyway, but games that I want to see is the game, especially games coming up on Tuesday. Champions Classic is Tuesday. So I want to see how, if I remember the schedule, I'm trying to remember who else is playing that night. But one of the other guys that caught my eye is Darren Peterson out of Kansas. And when I say all around guard who can, great vision, great ball handling, can score from anywhere. on the floor. It was crazy. I saw him when they scrimmaged Louisville before the season got started, and that's what caught my eye. He caught fire in the first half. And I'm thinking to myself, if he does this during the season, who's going to stop him? And like Mike said, you got Boozer, Peterson, and I think AJ is going to be, those are your top 3 picks as far as 1, 2, and 3 goes. But if I'm looking at another person, Pete caught my eye. I want to see how he does, especially with Arizona in the Big 12 this season, especially probably going up against Houston to probably take it all the Big 12. So I want to see how those two teams go at it. But Pete is the first one that caught my eye.
Yeah. All right. So, Robert, I'm going to come to you because this is the story we talked about last year, and you are our favorite administrator. So, Kiyomi McMiller, her nickname is The Product, and she is now at Penn State. So, let's get this disclaimer out of the way. Her mother is a graduate of Paint Branch High School. She was a student when I was a teacher there. I'm in the Paint Branch Athletic Hall of Fame. She was a student at Banneker Middle School when I taught there. So I root for the kid because I have a family connection there, but we can cover the situation. So last year she was at Rutgers. One, she's a ridiculously talented athlete and she's already on the Georgia brand. So, but it didn't work at Rutgers. And it got to a point where whatever was going on inside the locker room got outside the locker room. And there was a suspension. There was all types of things going. And we heard the phrase her team said, and that always gives us pause when we hear about the team. And we're talking about an individual in terms of being a part of a team structure. So now she's at Penn State. Penn State is an underperforming basketball program on the women's side, and I think she's going to bring an influx of talent, and that's going to help Penn State grow. But Robert, you've heard the story, you've read a little bit about it. We talked about her situation last year, and now I'm happy she's at a spot and she's comfortable, and she's averaging about 20-something right now and early in the season. But with everything that happened, from your lens as a former principal, AD, and administrator, what are you thinking about the product being at Penn State?
Well, first of all, the fact that she's calling herself the product rather than us calling her the product. I mean, that to me, that says stuff. You know, how focused we are on what we're doing as a team. It sounds like Penn State is a good fit for her, at least from the perspective of, okay, here's a place where I can show myself, so where I can show what I can do. I'll be interested to see if she stays more than a year. I mean, this year, the way the NIL currently works and the transfer portal, who's to say that, maybe she averages 25, 8, and 7, and somebody comes calling with NIL money and she winds up somewhere else. And how's that get, and how does that look? Does she have people around her who are going to give her good advice if she chooses to go to another situation? I mean, good for her that this is where she wound up and she's playing well. Let's see what develops, I guess.
All right, Danny, you follow women's basketball. It's one of the great reasons why we have you on the show, and I know you are familiar with the product. Any thoughts you have on the transition from Rutgers, which was a pretty middling type team, to Penn State, which is a middling type team? What do you think?
I think this was a step for her to get to a bigger program. I watched her 33-point game against Nebraska last season. I even went back and looked at it a little bit more to see her game and see how she matches up well going into the season, just to see how she would play alongside of Penn State, especially with their nucleus coming back. I just think this is more of a stepping stone for her just to get to another program. What is that program going to be? I don't know. I think she's going to be here for a year and then be gone once the season's over. Not saying that as in a bad way, as not saying that Penn State can't give her what she's looking for. It's just with her talent and what she brings to the table. We're talking about a guard who has the scoring prowess of some of the better guards I've seen come through the women's game in a long time. It's just I don't think her game suits to bringing winning to that program because, like you said, that program has struggled for as long as I can remember watching, college basketball, especially women's college basketball. I've never really heard of a Penn State program being the upper echelon, the top of the Big Ten, especially in the way the climate is nowadays. I just think this is more of a first step for her to get into another program because she had bigger programs looking at her. I think she chose Rutgers over like programs like Kentucky and LSU, so the SEC was calling her.
Well, now I do have to bring this up, and Mike, I want you to respond to it. One of the things CKA talks about in terms of coaching today versus coaching yesterday is managing versus coaching. Coaching involves a lot of instruction, redirection, all types of things like that. And today's player tends to want to be managed in terms of, well, let's see what we can do within the bounds of not overly irritating you because you can leave. So I can't make you overly uncomfortable. And this is what I get from coaches. Mike, close out the segment. What are you thinking about the move to Penn State for the product?
I think it's a step up, and another step up will follow. Again, everyone's will make their own decisions, but in this era, make your money. If Penn State's going to pay more, I'm going to Penn State. And if next year, LSU, Maryland, whoever wants to pay more, I'm going there. Because as we'll talk about in the next segment, we don't know what money we're getting in the WNBA, but we know we'll get in college. But what you were saying, the managing versus coaching for Maryland football, Mike Loxley last year said he lost the locker room because some guys were making this, some guys were making this, and it was a big issue in the locker room. And I go back to the Rutgers thing. I wonder how much she signed on to the Jordan brand. I wonder how much is jealousy. I don't know, but how much is jealousy when one person's making money? Yeah, no, I'm not saying they're wrong or she's right or they're right, but if one person's way above everyone else, could just be jealousy.
Mike, your truth has broken my heart as somebody who advocates for graduation from college. So I'm going to go pick my face up, and in segment 3, we're going to talk about the WNBA at a crossroads. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
Today's student athletes face pro-level challenges without pro-level support. The CKA SAVE project is here to change that. For 16 plus years, Dr. Keith Adams and his team have provided comprehensive academic and athletic support from middle school through post-graduation transitions. NIL guidance, transfer portal navigation, academic coaching, career planning, they've got it covered. The CKA SAVE project. When your future is on the line, experience matters. Learn more at www.ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, the WNBA is at a crossroads. The players are mad. The owners are mad. You got coaches and GMs in the middle. So I want to kind of take this from a few different lenses. Danny, you're a player. As we head into real negotiations with all of the different options that players have, what are you thinking about in terms of the WNBA's contract negotiations right now with the CBA?
It's time for me to get paid. That's what I'm thinking about as a player. We, as players, have been at the forefront of this growth of the league over the past, I want to say 5 or 6 years. But they're just due compensation. Again, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. The WNBA is the lowest player revenue share outside of all pro sports. Again, they only get about 9 to 10% of the revenue share. It is time for them to get their just due. And with the league expanding to, I think they're getting like 3 or 4 teams every year after next year, you need to start playing these players, or they're going to go find these other options. We already talked about we already know about Unrivaled in the winter. We're talking about that new league that is opening up, that's having an international tour that's supposed to start next year or in 2 years. They need to find a way to keep their talent. And the best way to keep your talent is to pay them. They're putting in too much work for them not to be paid what they have earned. I'm not going to say deserve, because deserve is a strong word. I'm going to say earned in this situation, because of the fact that they have put in the work from the time this new administration came in to the time we saw her get her just due and say, you need to go because you're not what we thought you were. So it's as a player, the only thing I'm thinking is, how much money am I going to get paid? Because it's time for them to get the pay that they have earned over this time.
All right. So, Mike King, you actually do a lot of stuff with the unions. You're a coach or a GM, so you've got to play both sides, as you've had to in your career. What are you thinking from a coaching or a GM aspect of what's going on with the WNBA's contract negotiation?
Like, you need your players happy. Right? If I'm the coach, I need my players happy. If my players are upset and you're not making enough money, it's going to affect me. But then there's so many different perspectives, because you have the players on the higher end. They want to make more, but a lot of the money needs to go to the minimum, and the rookies making almost nothing. So where do you find the balance there? And it's just not an easy thing, because while yes, the NBA revenue share is 50% for the players, and for WNBA it's 9%, but the owners make billions, whereas the WNBA owners, they do make money. The league loses money. The owners make money, but how much? It should be higher than 9 to 10%. But if you can't just follow the NBA model, because then the league will just shut down. They won't be able to do it if it's 50%. See, it's going to take a lot of math people way smarter than us to figure out what that magic number is. But boy, it seems like it's a good time maybe to get into buying a team, because you get it on the cheap now, and the league has that potential for growth. But it hasn't been like there's been a lot of loss for the WNBA. So like, I'm sure they're looking at this just like, what, we're just going to throw away money. We're losing money. Lost money what last year? As the league, the owners, the evaluations are going up. But yeah, it's a mess. But yeah, the pay us what you owe us and all that. To me, it all comes down to just simple math. If your commercials are paying this, and your seats are this, and your jerseys are this, put it into the calculator, and that's what it should be. But if it's not, then it can't just be like, well, it should be the same as, again, that owe us. What you owe us, that could be good, but that could also be low if the league's not making money. If no one's watching, get people to watch, then you're going to be owed a lot more. I think it's just simple math. Making money, and you deserve to make all that money. The league's losing money. It's hard to say that.
So, Robert, I'm coming to you last because you are an administrator. You've got billionaire owners and you got mom and pop owners who've been there for a while. And the mom and pop owners have been losing money. So they're looking at how much everything costs. The billionaire owners, I got money and this is something I do. You also have Kathy Engelbert as a commissioner who is not liked. And you have Adam Silver, who is Eddie Haskell, to date myself, and kind of sends out Kathy Engelbert to get yelled at, even though Eddie's in the back messing up for Wally and the Bee. So with all of that being said, what are you thinking from the administrative standpoint, sir?
Well, first of all, I mean, Kathy Engelbert's got to go. I mean, she's got to go. She is not. I don't think any of the players are going to feel like she's negotiating in good faith. And if I were an owner, I would be very concerned with her ability to negotiate, period, given how things have transpired in the league over the past couple of years under her leadership. I don't know as this is necessarily a referendum on Adam Silver as a commissioner, but his role here is going to be significant in figuring out what this collective bargaining agreement looks like. The mom and pop owners, unfortunately, it's mom and pop owners in professional sports in general are kind of a relic of the past. And the billionaire owners, I think, are going to outnumber them. And, you know, the thing about the mom and pop owners is they can sell and more than recoup their investment. I mean, you know, these teams are going to, if they chose to sell, you know, these teams are they can recoup their investment times 10, times 100. I don't know what the original buy-in was, but given what professional teams sell for now, they're going to be able to make money. They've got to figure that the league in general has to figure this out, because you have you have players who can go to, I mean, they make more money in Unrivaled than they do in the WNBA. You have international leagues who will happily poach your players. You have expansion teams coming. So you've got to, what are the rules going to be for them? Coaches right now, how are we going to build our rosters? They've got to get this sorted out, because they need to know, everybody needs to know, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? What does this new playing field look like? And I just don't have a lot of confidence in current league leadership to make that happen.
I love it. All right. So, fans, as we close, the Odd Coaches podcast has crossed a milestone this week. We have crossed over 700 episodes. And quite frankly, this all started because we didn't like how sports was being covered. And my good friend and tag team partner, Mike Franchise Francis, and I were having a debate. Rumor has it that AJ Francis, his son, heard us talking, said, hey, you guys should do a podcast. It's something I wanted to do. So we started to do a podcast. And every week we try to give our audience conversation over confrontation. We try to be funny, yet approachable. We're authentic. We know what we're talking about. And, man, it's just great every week that I get a chance to still connect with folks. Mike King and I did work together. I was his supervisor, for whatever that's worth. And he's been on a heck of a lot of shows. Mike, any thoughts about us crossing over 700?
It's time to get to 800. Got to keep working.
That is typical. Fans, Danny Thompson was a player I recruited, and this is the cool thing. I didn't get him, but we had a relationship that was beyond basketball. So when we started to expand, Danny was one of the first people I reached out to, and it took a minute because Danny, he works, he's got a family, but I am so happy that, he gives us time a couple of times a month, and that's awesome. Danny, any thoughts about us crossing over 700?
I think that's big, because with me listening to a lot of basketball podcasts, there was something I'm like, I don't even want to hear no more. So just listening, just being a part of this is big for me. This is great. I enjoy it. This is big for y'all. And I can't do nothing but applaud it, because that's a big thing. Not many sports podcasts last that long. And the fact that you've been able to do it for so long and keep it going this strong and keep expanding and building on it, that's just a beautiful thing.
And finally, our favorite administrator is just that. Long-term fans of the show know that Robert was the person who helped me find the gap to even do my doctoral dissertation, because I couldn't find it. And I roped him into a lot of stuff. And I think that was the phrase he used. What did you rope me into? And now, over 700 episodes later, we're still here. Robert, any thoughts before we wrap up, sir?
Well, I think that it's a tribute not just to you and the relationships that you build with in your life, but it's also a tribute to to the work you do through the CKA project to work with student athletes all over the country. And there are a lot of things happening with the CKA project, and the work we're able to do here in support of that is pretty significant. So I'm happy to be a part of it. It's an important part of it's an important part of my week. It's an important part of what I do, and I'm just happy to be here.
Appreciate it. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, the authentic voice of sports leadership where coaching wisdom meets real talk. Also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on the X platform at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Keith Adams and the CKA Save Project on social media at CKA Save Project. For more information about the CKA Save Project, visit them on the web at www.cksaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.